Hey everyone, this is Daniel, and today I'm going to talk about the PowerApps Hidden Gem Series 2. So in today's video, I'm going to actually be covering a whole bunch of cool new things, things that are kind of available, but they're a little hidden, and I want to talk about that. So today of these 5 things, the ones I've listed over here, is adding shadows, kind of give you a little depth of focus, going ahead and adding your own color because it helps with your company branding when it comes to coloring, converting a combo box to a text, and I'll kind of talk a little bit more about them when I get there. Adding deep links to a screen, that's when you click on a specific link, it'll take you straight to the link of that screen, and I'll walk you through that. And last, definitely not the least, a very popular feature, which is adding the app, the actual mobile app for your PowerApps as a separate app altogether, as against you opening up your device and clicking on PowerApps and then going to the app. This app will look like a standalone app, and then when you click on it, it takes you straight to that app. So these are the 5 features that I'm going to show you, and enough of the talking, let's jump in. Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk about is adding shadows. So in the adding the shadows over here, the specific ones that I want to talk about is adding like a 3D effect over there, and then building the shadow in PowerPoint. What I mean by that is when you kind of add a shadow over there, when you put a shadow in the back, it almost kind of gives you like a depth of focus. Most of the people who do photography actually understand that terminology. But the 3D effect is what it gives you. It looks like a really nice 3D slash depth of effect focus. But the cool thing is I don't have to go somewhere to buy the background or kind of steal it. I'm going to build that to you in PowerPoint. So let me now jump in and show you how I did that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up, I'll open up another PowerPoint slide. So I have over here, let me go in, open up a new one, and I'll kind of show you how I've built that. So here's my PowerPoint slide. Go ahead and convert that into a new blank one. And then in here, I'll say just select and put in, let's just add this entire rectangle. Alright, that looks cool. Now in the fill, the shape fill over here, I'm going to put in this gradient, and the gradient, there's different options, but the one I want to use right now is the linear up, but there's also a linear down. Oh, that's a diagonal. Let me find the linear down. Where are you? Linear down. So that's what I'm going to select. Let me just fill this up. I am not going to have any outline, so let me just go ahead and start doing a little bit more designing on the linear side. Say more fill colors. Nope, that's not what I want. Say more gradients, because I'm trying to get that. There we go. Got that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of increase the the gradient look and feel, and this kind of makes it look a little nicer. We can also go ahead and play around with the directions. So this is kind of exactly what I want. This is also exactly what I want, because I want to increase that. Here is where you can actually do all the playing around. So kind of like, I do like this effect over here, because I get a little bit more depth on that side. And then after that, you can go ahead and increase all the transparency that you want. So this over here is a pretty nice thing. Brightness you can go ahead and change. But all in all, this is all that we need. What you could also do is in the outline, the shape outline, we put it as no outline altogether, because that'll really help. But now you go to File, I go to Save As, and the Save As, I'm going to save it on my desktop. I'll call this as a blue shadow. I need to remember what I put in over there. And then this one, I'm going to specifically save it as a PNG format. That's PNG. I'll save it. Which slides? I'll just say just this one. Goes ahead and saves it, and we are good. All right. So that was the first part. Went ahead and took care of that. So I'm going to save it. Now, let's go ahead and build ourselves an app. I'm going to create one. I'm going to create a Canvas app. And in the Canvas app, it's opening, it's thinking, it's loading, and first things first is I'm going to have a tablet layout over here, a blank one. That's opening up. And I'm going to save it, always save it. Let's call this as our hidden gems live demo 2. Give it a little different color. Save it. And then let's work on the first one. So the first one that I did, I'm going to go ahead and now save the in the media. Let's get that image that I just built. So I'll go ahead and click on the browse and the blue shadow PNG. So now that I already have it, let's go ahead and just gonna go through a scenario where I'm just building a simple app. Most of you guys, usually if you've worked with me or if you work with my apps, you know that I'm really excited about this, you know, putting a header. By default, if you were to actually go ahead and use, say, you know, one of these screens which has a scrollable one over here, this guy's top level, its height is about 70. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come over here and its height, I'm going to change the size to 70. And then I'm also going to go ahead and change this to header label. Put this, you know, give it, say, that full fill color of that much. Change the text color to that. Make it in between, center. Let's go ahead and increase that. Boy, my mouse is really jumping around today. Yeah. And I'm gonna say hidden gems number 2, and this is going to be shadow. And then most of you, again, if you followed my apps, if you've kind of, you know, I've helped you, you know that I'm love to put this one as well. And that's the header, and that's the footer. And my footer, my favorite text, and you guys, most of you know it is powered by PowerApps. All right, so this was all the easy part. Nothing new over here. Went ahead and did that. But now let's go ahead and add that shadow or the depth of focus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to insert, and I'm going to add this media and add an image. All right, and I'm going to kind of expand that image first. Let me just put this over here because we'll have to play around with this. I'm going to at least expand it, and then I'm going to get that blue image, a blue shadow, and it comes in this way. But that's not enough. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to stretch it, and then I'm going to go to home and I'm going to, in the reorder, I'm going to send it to back. But that's not enough because that's, you're not getting that full depth of focus. So let me kind of move this down a little bit. Also, I can stretch that out, and now as you can see, I'm kind of getting that depth of focus effect over here. Now as you can see, there's a kind of a robust, I mean, a very significant break between those two colors over here. But you could have gone ahead in the PowerPoint, really blended in the colors over here to match the blue with the red, or with the white over there. Or if you changed your color scheme to say something else, kind of blend it in. But as you notice, now you've got a very significant shadow or a depth of effect. In fact, see over here, the more I bring it down, it really gives you that depth of effect or that shadow effect. So that's kind of how I've been doing for a lot of my apps, and it really, you know, gives your look and feel to a whole different level. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about shadow, but not just for the top header, right? I can go ahead and do Control C, Control V. I'm going to bring it all the way down, and in the advanced, I'm going to come into the image position, not image position. Let me expand that. It's the image rotation, and in the image rotation, I am changing that to rotate 180. And then after that, same thing, go to reorder, send to back, and then I can go ahead and bring that in, and it gives you that same depth of focus over here. So I can do that for the header, and I can do that for the footer as well. So this is basically how you go ahead and do the shadow piece. So we took care of this. Now let's go and see adding your own color. Okay, so in adding the own color, first I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm going to publish it as well so I don't lose it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and create. Let's actually just create another screen. I'll go ahead and duplicate the screen. Call this shadow. Go ahead and duplicate it. Next one we're gonna talk about is the adding the own color. So in the color, it's actually kind of fun. One of the things I'll do is I'll just delete this guy right now. It's really important, especially for those people who are very particular about their branding. You want to have branding, and sometimes the colors that are already available over here in the fill or the colors may not match what you want. You've got a very specific branding style over there. So this is how I'm going to show how you do it. First things first, I'm going to go ahead and add some of the slider controllers. I'm going to add 3 of them. Right? I'm going to add one is slider 1 for red, because it's RGB, red, green, blue. I'm going to do another one that's going to be G, and by default they're all at 50%, which is fine. It's fine for now. Actually, we'll change that to 0 by default. So let's just do that. By default they are at 0. Let's change that. Change this guy to 0 and 0. Okay. Next thing is I'm now going to go to the actual fill over here, because this is the fill of the entire screen. And you see how it is 255, 255, 255, 1. Watch what I'm going to do. So if you take a closer look over here at the context and the syntax, it says that the way this function works, or this expression works, it's red, green, and blue, and then the alpha is 0 or 1. But for the red one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the red one with the slider b dot value. Now, one thing I forgot to tell you, but I got to tell you that now. Remember, by default in our sliders over here, it's and let's take a look at that too, because you want to see the minimum is from 0 to 100, but these sliders specifically for the colors is from 0 to 255, which means we now need to change our max to 255. So let's do that for each of them. I'm going ahead and changing that too. Remind me later. 255. Same thing here. Change it to 255. And I could have done all of this before. I could have actually, done it on the first one, then on the copy and pasting. It would have just been a little easier. No idea why that's happening, but it's saved. So we went ahead and took care of that. Now, let's go back to our fill over here and change. This one is slider RG, so it's green dot value. And then last but definitely not the least, slider, because it's R. Yep, this one should have been R G, and then B, RGB dot value. So you see when I'm actually testing it, it's already going ahead and changing the colors. But now let's actually go and play with it. So if I go over here and I start getting these over here, watch. I'm able to get whole different variations of colors. These colors are not available in the out-of-the-box, fill or the color thing, but this is how I'm able to get it. And I can get some really interesting colors over here. But besides the fact that you can just play around with it and it's really cool, this will get you the exact color that you need for your branding. Now, to make it simple, I went ahead and just showed it over here. What you could do is you could go ahead and add these controls to a whole separate screen, which nobody else but just you as the admin knows where that screen is. And then for all the other apps where you have, all the other screens where you're going to have coloring and everything, in its fill, in its color, instead of having the hard-coded numbers, you just go ahead and put these dynamic variables over here. But then you go to that other hidden screen where only the admins have access. There you go ahead and play around with the actual constants or the actual values that you need, and then that will automatically go ahead and change the colors of the rest of the app, because the rest of the app is using these type of values over here. So the beauty of this is that in the future, if your values for or the dynamic, the branding colors changed, it's an easy fix for you because you've already gone ahead and used this place as a one-stop shop to go ahead and change all your coloring, but then you can also go ahead and, you know, affect the entire app. So that was the second thing, was to go ahead and add your own color. Key thing over here is that you want to go ahead and use these controls and then add the control values to the entire RGB, and then the RGB is wherever you want to go ahead and add these colors, which would be a fill for the screen, whether it could be the color for each of the controls, wherever you want it. That's how you go ahead and do that. So that was our second thing, that was the colors. Now let's go ahead and jump into the next piece, which is converting a combo box to a text. Now this, yeah, I call it as a hidden gem, but technically kind of it is, because it is a formula that we'll be using. But this came to, you know, I kind of had to leverage it a lot, primarily for a SharePoint app that I was building. What happened was, in that case, there were certain drop downs I'd used, but I was saving it. In this case, I was actually patching it to a SharePoint a list which had a single line of text. So I was trying to figure out, okay, how do I, whenever the users are using the app and they have these drop downs, they're selecting, sometimes they'd select and take it off again. I want to take all that information and patch it to just a single line of text in SharePoint. And how do I do that? And that's when I learned this little trick, and I'm going to share that with you. So let me bring that down. That way I can just maintain the consistency. And this is screen 3 here, and that is adding shadows. Oh, this is the convert. So come on, Daniel, you can spell C-O-N. Let me take that out. Okay, so as an example, I'm going to go ahead and now add a let me do a combo box drop down over here, and in the combo box I'm going to add some, in this case I'm putting in some static values. You guys could, you know, go ahead and add a data source over here from Excel, SQL, SharePoint, wherever. For the sake of this demo, I'm just adding some static values over here. So let me just put in some stuff. This is the format, so I'll just steal the ideas from the previous one. Is red, green, blue, let's say black. We'll also add another one, white. Okay. Let me just refer to my other color over here just to make sure. Yep, and yep. So I've got that over here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add a text one, because this is the text that I'm going to use for, say, converting it from this drop down to this text. So now in the text we're going to use not the concatenate, but the concat, and that's an expression that's available in PowerApps. Many a times we go ahead and use the concatenate a lot, but in this case you're going to use the concat. So what I'm going to do in the default is I'm going to come in and I'm going to type in concat, and the IntelliSense by default gives me concat as the top option, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to grab the combo box. Now the combo box is the same control that you added. In our case it's combo box 1, so that's what I'm going to pick, combo box 1. And then I'm not going to do selected dot value or selected dot whatever. I'm just going to select straight and use these selected items, and let me click on that, selected items. Again, IntelliSense does a fantastic job because they already gave me the option. And then here, when I do just add a comma, I want to see the option that IntelliSense is giving me. And since I kind of hard-coded those options available, it just gives me value. But if you went ahead and pulled it in from a SQL or a SharePoint, that value might actually change into, say, the column name or the table column name. So when you are using this, kind of keep that in mind, that you might say, hey, Daniel, I'm not seeing value. That's because I'm using a hard-coded, example over here. In my hard-coded values in this example. In your case, that value might actually change. So keep that in mind. All right, so I'm going to say a value, and then the next thing is what do I want in between those concatenated values. So I'm going to have red, and then I want something in between. Do I want a space, or do I a comma, semicolon? It's completely up to you. In my case, I'm going to use a comma. So I'm putting in double quotes, comma, double quotes, and then I close it. All right, so that works. So let's do a test. So I come over here and I'm going to do red, and watch, red shows up over here. I can do a green, and green shows up over here too. Blue, black, white, they all show up. But this is not one of those situations where I've gone and clicked it and it's going to stay over there, and guess what, it's going to stay over there forever. You can't do anything about it. It is very dynamic, because watch, when I start deleting these away, it automatically goes over here. So that concat works so well, especially for those scenarios where the one which I had to do is, in my situation, I had these combo boxes which are already there in the app, but I want to patch it to a SharePoint single line of text. You wanted to patch it to a single line, even in a SQL table or an Excel. This is the way to do it. That in the app, you go ahead and put in the drop down options over there, but over here in the app, you go ahead and use this fabulous formula. And that formula is, once again, it's the concat expression, or the formula. It's not concatenate, it's just the concat. And then the way it works is you go ahead and add the drop down over here, dot selected items, and then make sure you put the values. Another cool little trick that I use over here, and I'll show it to you guys just for grins and giggles, is not only do I want to know what I'm putting over here, but I also want to know a count of how many I've selected. And for that, I use this over here, count A, and again, the combo box dot selected items, and in this case, just the dot value. And by default, it'll start counting how many you've selected. And this comes, this kind of helps you take that app just to the next level of look and feel and the effectiveness, because it makes it look very professional. But see what I mean? That over here, now I'm going ahead and clicking, and it's telling me that, hey, you've gone ahead and selected that many. This would also be very helpful for situations where you're building an app and you only want to allow your customers to say select 4 or 3. This is where you go ahead and do it. Is that moment these guys have gone over that, make this red so that they know, oops, I've selected more. But this is again just the beauty of it, that it goes ahead and shows you how I've gone ahead and done all those fun things. So this is our next, the option number 3 that I had is the option to go ahead and take images from the combo box, and then using the concat function or expression, I was able to go ahead and putting it into a single line of text, and then the added feature that I showed you, which was the doing a count of that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and save it, and then we can move along to the next one. Okay, so in the next one over here, the 4th one, that is adding the deep links. So about the deep links, one of the hidden gems that I use a lot is called as the param, or the parameter function. I want to give a big shout out to Hila Ramo. She actually was one of the people who went ahead and showed that, hey, this function was available, and we were having discussions with her in the PowerApps Facebook group over there. And she said, hey, this was a cool feature, and I said, that is a really neat feature. I'm going to blog about that and give a big shout out to her. So Hila, thanks for showing that, and big shout out to you. So let me show you what that is. Okay, one of the things I want to do for that scenario is we'll go ahead and actually just use this app as an example, because I want to kind of show you and walk you through how this works, because it's a little bit tedious over here. So first things first is in the app itself, I'm going to come in and just drop a label. I'll just put that over here, make sure that the label is very prominent, color white, and say make it really bold, because that's how it's going to be. Save. The other important thing on the app is on the app itself, you want to go to the app, and on start, here's what I want you to do. On the set variable, put in start screen variable, and then we're using the param, which also stands for parameter, and in the parameter I'm going to give this very specific text. Now you need to be very specific about this text, and you need to remember what it is, because this is the parameter we're going to add to the URL. So watch what I'm doing. I'm doing screen ID, closing the brackets for the param, and then I'm closing the brackets for the set. One thing I'm focusing on right now is how my screen ID text is. I have an uppercase S, and then uppercase I, and an uppercase D. Screen ID, one word. Remember that. So I'm going to go ahead and now save it. And in here, I'm going to put in the default as also. Actually, it's the text. Text, I'm going to put that as screen. No, it was the variable. The variable was, what did I put the variable? Start screen variable. Start screen variable, right? Still doesn't show anything right now, but that's just fine. Now let me go ahead and save it. Let me go ahead and publish it, and you can see what happens. Now this section over here gets a little tricky, so I want to kind of show you how that works. Let me kind of walk you through it. In there, yep, published it. Come over here, let me just refresh that. This is very similar to what the hidden gems one also I did before, because remember I was able to show you how you can take that top header out and hide it. Very same context. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that and I'm going to play it. Now in the play on the URL, you can go ahead and do that, and then you type in and screen ID equals, I'm going to say 2. See what happened over there? In that case, I was able to go ahead and now add the values directly into the app. So I could actually go and change that to anything else. See, for all based on the URLs, I'm able to give these items or pre-default items over here. Now, for some of you guys, when you actually saw this, you immediately realized that this is huge, because if any of you are Infopath or ex-Infopath users, remember back in SharePoint days, we were able to do this. That in the URL, when you're going ahead and embedding that app wherever, I could go ahead and pre-populate certain of the fields, directly through the URL over here. The same thing now you can do with PowerApps as well. In fact, I'm going to do a really more detailed deep dive blog on this, but right now I just want to show you that hidden gem that this is available. But watch what happens available over here. You can go ahead and now put in the 4, and then as an example, say you wanted to have some predetermined app over here, where say screen's a great example, right? You've built one app, and in that one app, in fact, let me show it to you. Here's an example of an app. This was actually the first test app that I built. But here is an app of a US finance, which is $ survey. Okay, and then this other one is the Deep Link 2, which is also a screen number 6, and the European finance survey. So what the user over here is trying to do is they want to have one app which is used for filling out these surveys for all the people across the different countries that they work with. Anything to do with America, Europe, Asia, Australia, Africa, and they want to build this one app because all of them have separate screens, but depending on who the user is, they want to send out the link, only the link to the people. And that's how they can do it, is now they don't have to build separate apps. They can just have one app, and then in the link they can go ahead and actually send them specifically that the screen one over there. So the way you can actually do that, and let me see if I can get that right for you, is in the app itself we can tell them that same process as before, that go ahead and put in screen ID, and then we can put in like an F, that if screen ID equals say 5, and I get the 5 because over here screen ID equals 5, then navigate to screen 5, and then navigate however you want with the transition, no transition, fade, let's do fade. Alright, actually it's start screen variable, so something like that. So let me now save it. The other one I can actually do is another one. Yeah, that's incomplete. What I'll do is start screen variable equals 6, comma, navigate to 6, comma, again the fade here, and then close it. So basically what I'm saying is that if I know I want to send a link to only the people in America for American dollars, I'm going to send them this one URL in the email, and then in the other one I'm going to send them an email. If they are European people, then I'll send them a very specific email with a very specific link, and that link will have the screen over here. So let me show you what that means, right? Save it, publish it. So I go back over here. That's actually the demo one that I had. If any of you know, worked with me, I've kind of told you that for some reason in PowerApps, the magic refresh button to guarantee what you want to see is 3. I refresh it 3 times, and then after that I know that any change I made to the app will actually play over here. So here, by default, I see the first one. But if I go ahead and put in and screen, it's and, not at, and screen ID equals 5. Let me see. It is working. Let's try that really fast. Let's take a look at the app quickly. This was the one over here on select. If start screen variable. Okay, value. It's not liking the formulas aren't the same. All right. Minor difficulties, but nothing we cannot fix. Save it. Should have given it a second to see if those squiggly lines appeared. They had, so let's just test it. Okay, make sure I published it. I did. Let's go back to my test app over here. Give it that magic 3 refreshes. 1. Yep, all right, first one worked. Cool. Now, what I noticed that over here, I had not put the link on that. So let me add that as well, so we can kind of visually see what's going on. So back over here, going to go back to the screen one and actually copy the same thing. There's the label. Let me copy that label, put it over here, paste it. Save it. Publish. Publish. Cool. Alright, so let me refresh it because I want to show you what's going on. Now remember that screen number 6 over there, that was for the European finance one. Now if I go back over here and if I change that to screen ID 5, it shows me the US finance ones. This is huge, the deep linking functionality where I can go ahead and put that in the URL, and now it forces it to go ahead and go to that screen over there just based on the URL. Now I know some of you may say that, Daniel, there's already that on-start functionality to navigate based on conditions over there. True, you could use that, but not in this case because this is a very specific case. This is the case where you can go ahead and for the same requirement, which is just filling the forms, you can go ahead and say that, okay, for these people in US, I'm going to send them the US screen, and I want them to only see the US screen. And that functionality doesn't have to be added some conditions or something in the on-start. You just put it in the URL, and it's done. Same thing when it goes for the US side. I just go ahead and put in 5 over there, and you're done. So just, I mean, the 6 over there, and you're done. So watch out that the URL over here, that's the main thing, is the ampersand or the and then the variable over there. That, I'm sorry, is the parameter over there, the screen ID. That's how I went ahead and got it. So again, I recommend that you kind of go and see this again and again, what I did, because it's very specific. I used the parameter function, or the param function over there. In the param whatever was the value of the param function, I'm assigning it to a variable, and then that is how whatever is the param function I've added in the URL, that one is going to take automatically affect the app over there. So this is the key, the important thing of the deep link to go to a screen. But you can also use this deep link to go ahead and pre-populate these, because any existing InfoPad users, designer users, would love this, because I know in InfoPad it was pretty simple to go ahead and put in all these, append all these things in a SharePoint page. You can go ahead and do that right now over there. So this, I know I spent a little more time on this one because this one is huge over here. Now last but definitely not the least is the one where you can go ahead and now add an app as a separate mobile app. Let me say that again. You build the PowerApps, but now you don't have to go to open up the mobile app, click on it, and then go see that. You build it as a separate app. So let me show this to you, because I've shown, this has been there for a while, but when I show it to people, it just blows their mind. So let me kind of show that to you, and I'm going to prepare my my laptop to show my apps. I'm going to pause over here, and I'm going to come back again. Okay, we're back. Over here, what I've done is I've just gone ahead and shown you my my mobile phone. Again, nothing fancy. It's just my iPhone over here. But a couple of things you have to do, because there's no way you can get around that. You have to have PowerApps over here. You just got to have it. Some people might say that, well, Daniel, that's kind of not accurate, because you're showing an app, but you're technically showing a PowerApps. And granted, it is the way it is. That's how it is. But the key thing is, you don't have to have users now do that two-click process. You don't have to click on PowerApps and then go find where the other app is and then click on that app. You can just go ahead and now go ahead and put the app available. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So in this app of mine, you see the one way on the top, the audit app. I'm going to now click on those three dots, or the ellipses, which is to the right. I'm going to click on it, and there I'm going to use the second from the bottom, which is pin to home. The pin to home, when I click on it, it comes up to this page, and it's actually very user friendly, because see what it's saying. It says add the audit app to the home screen to make it look and feel like a real app, and it's even telling you where you want to do it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to click on this tab, and then here on the iPhones or on the iOS, it gives me these options. Do you want to add it to the favorites? Do you want to just copy it? What I'm going to do is I'm going to slide to the right, and I'm going to add it to the home screen, which is right over here. It's added to the home screen. When I click on it, it even tells me that, hey, what do you want to name this app? Because the app by default is called Audit App. Do you want to name it something else? I'll say, you know what? I'm just going to name it the exact same thing. But for any of you who are developers and kind of dev heavy side, you can see that it's even showing you what the URL is on the bottom and how this is the bookmark URL for these iOS devices. So it's kind of pretty neat over there. I'm going to now go ahead and click on add, and we're done. But just see what happened right over here. The one I've clicked on, that is now the direct app. It actually, end users will just think, oh wow, we've got a whole app over there. Now you smart guys on the admins on the back end, you actually kind of know that what has happened is over here I've gone ahead and just put in the shortcut to that existing app. So once again, let me kind of just show you what happened is I went ahead and added this app over here, which is the audit app. But when I click on it, it actually opens up PowerApps and then directly takes you straight to that app. So end users will still see that something's happening, but you just made a two tedious steps, which is open up the app, scroll to find the app, and then open up the app that you want. You made all those tedious steps taken away by just do a one-click process over there. So this is pretty neat. It works for the iPhones, it works for the iPads, it also goes ahead and works for the Androids. The process is exactly the same over here. And what's interesting is this feature was actually available for a long time, but every once in a while when I show it to people, it just has a mind-blown scenario. So I said, I need to kind of add that to my hidden gems over here. So all in all, I'm going to go ahead and close this. Just as a quick recap, what we covered today were these major ones. Let me go back. These are the five that we covered. Adding the shadows. Remember, we went and built it in PowerPoint, embedded over there. Adding your own color. huge from a company branding standpoint. Converting the combo box to a single line of text using the concat function over there, or the formula, again, huge if you're going to just patch it to a single line of text, especially to something like SharePoint, where you don't have to worry about big formulas for combo items and things like that. Deep link to the screen, again, that was pretty simple and straightforward, right? We went ahead and I used the parameter function or the param function, but now you could actually go ahead and build a single app and force people to just use different screens, because the app is kind of the same. You just want, based on the location, a separate screen. This is how you do it. And then last but definitely not the least, adding an app as a separate app, which was the example that I showed you over there, that the app already exists, but I was able to use the shortcut or the pin functionality over there, and it pinned just that app in the home page or on the screen of my iPhone, where the end users just think that, oh, this is a brand new app that it's been built over there, which takes you that wow effect to a whole new level, but it also makes it very user friendly. So all in all, these were the 5 features for the Hidden Gems Part 2. I'll definitely be coming out more parts of these. If any of you guys are interested about this, go ahead and reach out to me. Here's my Twitter handle, my YouTube video. Go ahead and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button on the bottom. Also in the link of the description, I've added the link to the first Hidden Gem, so you don't have to go Googling and Binging for that. It's already over there. And once again, keep power apping. Thanks.